Well, a pleasant good morning to all you sports fans out there, and welcome to the PR man, the coach, talking ball on the BallFather podcast presented by Sportskeeda. I'm your host, Reggie Roberts, longtime communications executive and former NFL writer, and I'm joined today, as always, with my co-host, my fantastic co-host. He's the winningest coach in Atlanta Falcons history. His name is Mike Smith. Good morning, Coach.
Hey, good morning, Reg. Another week in done, right?
I tell you what, now I just can't tell you how fired up I am because I've watched the games all weekend, and it's funny. It was lots of excitement in NFL Week 5. I mean, there was lots of scoring, which the fans like. There were a lot of great defensive plays. 49ers find themselves, they're 3-2. They're leading the NFC West in the same division where the defending Super Bowl champions reside. And they're leading the division. They've scored a defensive touchdown in each of the last 2 weeks. The Texans, who entered the week as the lone NFL team that didn't have a win, they won. I mean, so it was a whole lot of excitement, a lot of really good plays. And then I'm thinking, okay, well, the Monday night game, I'll just kind of watch it. I won't. And the Monday night game sort of exceeded all of them. It was a great game. The Chiefs fell behind at home by 17 points. They had to come back. So there was a lot of excitement, and I'm really excited to talk a little bit about it, get your take on what you thought some of the key things that took place over the weekend. Any early thoughts on that game last night, the Chiefs game?
Shoot, was it a good game to watch? I'm telling you, it was 180 degrees opposite of the first game of the week, the Broncos and the Colts on Thursday night. I thought, oh gosh, this is going to be this might be a tough weekend for NFL football. But boy, was that a game last night?
It was unbelievable. It had a little bit of everything. I mean, the Raiders and the Chiefs. Everybody knows they're bitter rivals. They play each other. Chiefs, falling behind 17-0, they rallied to come back. They won the game. Great offense, great individual performances on both teams. But I want to talk a little bit about a couple things. I want to talk about the one thing that everybody's talking about. I turned on the TV this morning, Coach, and the talking heads on CBS this morning and Good Morning America and Today Show, they're all talking about the roughing the passer play. Big what's the guy's name? I think Chris Jones. Going times winding down second half. First half times winding down, and he's trying to get to the quarterback. His job is to get to the quarterback. And he strip sacks the guy, and they just, as you all know, strip sacks the guy, and the referee calls a roughing the passer call. The Chiefs fans were irate. They were irate, and I'm thinking, okay, what does the coach think? What would the coach think? What do you think about that play? And is Cheffers right to flag him in that instance, Coach?
Well, Reggie, that's the $64 question in the NFL right now. They want to protect the quarterback.
Got it.
And I get it. We understand that, most teams that have a franchise quarterback, it's probably upwards of they're paying the guy 25% of the salary cap. So they got to protect him. That needs to be done. But it's tough on the defensive guys. We try to coach it as coaches, and it's more coach speak, I hate to say it, than actually going out there and being able to do it. We've got rules in place where you can't hit the quarterback below the knee or around the head and shoulder area. So there's a strike zone that you've got to hit. He was in the strike zone. There was no doubt about it. Did he take him to the ground and ram him into the ground? In my opinion, he didn't do that.
Right.
He was going through and he was trying to pull off. And that's what you try to teach the guys to do, is don't drive the quarterback into the ground. He's basically a defenseless player when he's getting ready to throw the ball.
Right.
So it's something that in theory you try to coach it, and it's a judgment call. And there's a lot of judgment calls in the NFL. Probably the toughest job in the world, besides maybe being the president of the United States, is being an official in an NFL game, especially on Monday night. Right. And it happens so fast. They're trying to do their best, but that was a tough one to swallow last night. It really was. It was tough to see.
I tell you what, the one the previous day with Brady and Grady Jarrett, that one was even tougher. Brady was on his radio show. He has a national radio show with Jim Gray that he does on Monday nights. And Tom, they had a clip on it this morning on Today's show where Tom says, he said it was just, it was a big long bear hug by Grady Jarrett, who had a great game. He was in the Bucs backfield all day. But that game, that play stopped the drive. It elongated Tampa Bay's drive, and it allowed Tampa Bay to run out the clock. In other words, the Falcons couldn't get the ball back because they called the foul on Grady Jarrett. I mean, the league's got to do something. Mike, do you think as a coach, would you like to see those kinds of calls, specifically that particular call, given to the hands of the replay official upstairs?
Well, that's been discussed in the past, and I think that you just have to make a decision. Do you want the games to go on longer? Because there's going to be a couple of games probably that would be looked at by the guys upstairs. And I know that the games are long enough as they are, and they're trying to keep them to a little bit around 3 hours, not trying to go over it. If they go 3:05, they're okay with that, but they'd like to get it around 3 hours. And then that opens up down the road. Do we look at pass interference?
Right. Exactly. You're right.
So are you going to do it for all of them, or are there going to be specific ones? And I think that it's something that the competition committee has got to, get their hands around it and really see which direction they want to go. But I know this: we got to keep the quarterbacks healthy. This is a quarterback-driven league. There's no doubt about it.
Right. Well, it'll be interesting to see what the other guys. I'll be interested to hear what Shannon Sharp has to say and Stephen A. Smith. I'm sure it'll be talked about, and we'll probably kind of talk about it again next week when we get together. All right, moving on. It's interesting. I'm here in Dallas visiting some friends, and we got here the other day, and the Cowboys had just beat the Rams. I mean, everybody went to a restaurant to eat some dinner, and everybody's talking about the Cowboys. Everybody's fired with the Cowboys. And I'll tell you, 2-3 weeks ago, I read where they wanted to run Mike McCarthy out of town because, they were saying that, he can't coach the big games. He's not very good. But I looked up some stats here. Mike, I know you like stats. I used to bring you stats all the time. We worked together. The Cowboys are 19-7 in their past 26 games, which is the second most wins in the NFL over that span. But here's one that I didn't think anybody knew, and one that I think is really, really good. And just wanted to kind of tee you up a little bit, talk about Coach McCarthy, who the Cowboys are 8-1 over the past 9 games under McCarthy without quarterback Dak Prescott. So I just wanted to ask you, Coach, do you think the media in general have been beating this guy up, and he's getting criticized way more than he should be based on the fact on how good a job he's done without his quarterback?
Oh, Mike McCarthy's a heck of a coach, and he is coaching in Dallas, and coaching in Dallas is not easy.
Right.
Everybody says Dallas is America's team.
Right.
Everything that the Cowboys do is scrutinized.
Correct.
Not only once, not only twice, but 3 times.
Correct.
Hey, there's more Monday morning quarterbacks across the country that are talking about the Dallas Cowboys. The expectations are really almost unrealistic over the long haul. Right. It is. It's tough. He's but I tell you what he's doing right now is he's coaching to the strength of his team.
Right.
He's got a backup quarterback, and he's doing it a lot differently than what he did in Green Bay when he had Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
So it shows that he's adaptable. Year 1 was tough. I mean, let's be real. They went 6-10. They made some changes, in their coaching staff. They brought Dan Quinn in year 2, and he changed the defensive room. They added some talent. They got a really good defense, and now they're playing without their quarterback. And what they've done is they've gone back to Cowboys football when Dak Prescott was a rookie and a second-year player. They're playing really good defense. They can run the football. They're taking the ball away, and they're not turning it over. And when you do that, that's a proven formula to win, not only in the National Football League, but anywhere in football.
Right. So,
Mike's doing it different than he did in Green Bay. Let's see, let's see if he can stay that course when Dak comes back. I think this formula is really working, and they've got a chance, and they've got to continue to play with this style until even when Zach comes back. I really believe that. And unfortunately, certain cities, the football fans are fanatics, and in Dallas, they're that way. Mike, I think, has done a great job the last 2 years, and it has a lot to do with him being able to adjust and having Dan Quinn running that defense, because he's got those guys balling. They're balling out.
He got them playing. I mean, there's a lot to do here in Dallas. Dallas is a really, it's a really metropolitan city. It's a huge American city, but the Cowboys are king here. I mean, everything here starts and stops with the Cowboys. Well, switching to my boys. My boys in New Orleans got back on the winning trail this past weekend. It's funny. When they signed Taysom Hill, when they drafted Taysom Hill, I was wondering, what are they going to do with him? They call him the jackknife, the pocket knife, whatever they call him.
Yeah, the Swift Army knife. The Swiss Army knife.
Army knife. Thank you, Mike. Swiss Army knife. And the guy can do, and he had it all going on Sunday. I mean, he was a guy, ultimate utility man in New Orleans is 39-32 win over the Seahawks on Sunday. He had 3 rushing touchdowns, 1 passing touchdown. He rushed for 112 yards. He had 69 yards of kick return yardage, 22 yards passing, and he recovered a fumble. And he might have saved New Orleans the season because the Saints had lost 2 or 3 games in a row. Coach, tell me this. We played against him. We played against him. How do you game plan for a guy? I mean, they got Alvin Kamara. When they got help, they got the receivers. How do you game plan for him? How does the defensive staff put a game plan together for him?
Well, when you've got a guy like him in the ball game, it's tough because he's such a physical player lining up at the quarterback position. You can't defend him as a quote wildcat quarterback because he's a quarterback that can throw the ball. He played quarterback in college. He's big. He's strong. People don't realize this, but I think he had like 121.4 quarterback rating.
He did.
As a college quarterback at right. BYU, so he can throw the football. And this is a great thing for a team to have. They can put him in there for 8 or 9, 10 plays in a ball game, and defensive coordinators are going to have to spend, hours preparing on how they're going to defend Hill when he gets in there. And I think you don't do it every game. You bring it, you bring it in and out. And I don't know that they'll play him every game at quarterback, but every week they got to prepare for it. Right. And, he threw 1 pass, and guess what? It was a touchdown pass.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So, he's not a running back lining up as a wildcat quarterback. He's a quarterback that's big and strong, and he's a great athlete, Reggie. You see, he plays on special teams. He's one of their best special teams player. I mean, when they say he's a Swiss Army knife, he's a Swiss Army knife. He can do it all.
He really is. Just moving right along here. You're on the sports on the podcast. I'm sorry. Let me start that one again. Sorry, V. Sorry. Start that again. 3, 2, 1. If you're listening to the PR man and the coach talking ball on the BallFather podcast presented by Sportskeeda, Coach, it was really good to see Coach Vrabel and his guys in Nashville get it back going. They were early in the season. The Titans started a little bit slow. They're 0-2, and you would think you would have thought that the Grand Ole Opry was on fire in Nashville, as ugly as the sports talk radio media waves were coming out about in Nashville. I mean, they were talking about Vrabel's lost his touch. They can't play anymore. The quarterback's no good. And, this is the National Football League. Everybody's got good players. Everybody's got good coaches. You're going to lose some games. You're going to start slow sometimes. You're going to get injuries and various things. But, Vrabel is my kind of coach. He reminds me a little bit of you, Mike, because you and I talk about, he's a defensive-minded coach. His team plays the game that I think the game should be played. They built a tough, nasty defense that can stop the run and one that consistently takes the ball away. And then, like you and I used to talk about when we worked together in Atlanta, when you got a young quarterback and you got a young team, you have that punish and run game with that all-world running back that they got with Derrick Henry. Teams that can run the ball, can kill the clock. I mean, that's the kind of team that can travel late into the season, you can play late into the season, November, December, and get into hopefully the tournament. Tell me a little bit about what you think about what's caused their turnaround and your thoughts on Coach Vrabel as a coach.
Well, I think Coach Vrabel's done a great job, Reggie. That 0-2 record that they started the season with is a little skewed because they lost to the New York Giants. Of course, in game one, nobody knew what the New York Giants were going to be. Look where they are right now. I believe they're 4-1.
They are.
It was a close game, and then they got blown out by the Bills. And the Bills are one of the top teams in the league this year. But Coach Vrabel does a great job in preparing his team, especially for one-score games. 4 of the 5 games have been one-score games, and they found a way to win. And that says a lot to what you've already mentioned. The bruising running game with Derrick Henry. They're playing good defense. I think they're really good on third down defense and getting the other team's offense off the field. Their first and third down efficiency. They do the things that you need to do to slow a game down. Right. And here's one of the things that people don't realize: what Mike Vrabel has done, not only this year but last year. Last year, the Titans had more players on IR than any other team in the league.
Wow.
Yes, and they're on pace to do it again this year, unfortunately, through the first 5 weeks. And everybody says, well, last year was a 17-game season. Look, they had 91 different players playing, and that happened in the first 14 games. They lost this year. They've lost some really good players in Tyler Lewan, the outside linebacker, Harold Landry, cornerback, I think is the kid Elijah Moulton, Monty Rice, and Chris Jackson. And so they're on pace again to maybe break the record that they broke last year. So he and his staff, they've done a great job. They've got it rolling. They've won these close games. And I tell you, winning close games does nothing but give you confidence as you move forward. Because when you win those close games, you can come back and do what you've got to do to win in the National Football League. Mike's done a great job there.
Yeah, he has. They just seem to keep it rolling. They're playing great on defense. I didn't realize that they'd have that many guys hurt, but they have a lot. They lost Taylor Lewan and the cornerback. They have lost a bunch of guys, but they seem to keep it going. We'll keep our eye on the Titans as we move forward. We always talk about on our podcast. We always talk about the concussion protocols, and that's kind of been in the news. And it was really good to see that the league. The league kind of did the protocols and kind of got it right and added some new language to the protocols with the new the ataxia thing, where stumbling is considered a sign of ataxia and it demonstrates impaired motor function. The NFL defines ataxia as abnormality of balance, stability, motor coordination, or dysfunctional speed caused by a neurological issue. Coach, do you like the new change based on everything that's happened thus far in the season with regards to completely protecting the players even more?
Well, yes, Reggie, and I know that the league hasn't really come out and given all the changes that they've made, but again, we've got to protect the players from themselves. The majority of the guys, they want to be in the game. They've got, and sometimes they don't even know that they've been concussed. And, I think I said it last week, and I'll say it again, if it looks like a concussion, if it smells like a concussion, we need to protect the players and get them off the field. It's for their own good. And that's one of the things that I think we have to have a better eye on and a feel for it from the people that are looking for it in the box, because we've missed it. And I think that's a tough thing when we've got protocols in place and maybe they're not being, executed the way that they need to be executed. And I think we need to make sure that if there's any doubt, the player's out. And that's the way it should be. And the coaches shouldn't be making those decisions. Doctors should be making those decisions, and experts that know what it looks like. And we need to make sure that we stop the game if need be and get the players out. And I think you'll see more and more of that as the season goes on to protect these players.
You're right. You're spot on. You've nailed it. You hit it right on the head. But it's good to think the league does a lot of things very, very well. Okay, as you and I both know, they do a lot of things very well. But the thing with Tua was bad. I mean, they keep showing that clip of him stumbling, and it sort of begs the question: somebody made a mistake. But I'm agreeing with you. The more protection they can offer the players, because you said the players, as you said, the players, sometimes don't need protecting, and they need to police themselves. Extra eyes and new steps to help them protect guys from being concussed or getting hurt. I think that's good for the game and good for the league. It's early in the season, and as with every year, a team that's been struggling, sometimes the coach pays the ultimate price. And we had that happen yesterday with the Panthers let go Coach Matt Rule, after a 1-4 start. Rule was fired less than 24 hours after the 37-15 loss to the San Francisco 49ers, and less than 3 years into a 7-year, $62 million contract he was given in January to turn around the Panthers the way he did college programs at Temple and at Baylor. The one note that kind of stood out to me is that the Panthers still owe Coach Rule $40 million, which is a lot of money. Rule's 11-27 in Carolina. The one stat that kind of blew me away was they were 1-27 and the team allowed 17 or more points. Coaches get fired. The Panthers were in our division. Why don't what are your thoughts? From as an NFL observer, guy who follows the game, why do you think the Panthers can't get it going, Coach?
Well, Reggie, I really don't know the answer to why they can't get it going. I know that over the last couple of years they've definitely tried to fix some of the problem areas. They've been trying to find a quarterback, and they've gone in 3 or 4 different directions here over the last couple of years. But I forget who said it. It might have been I think it may have been Jerry Glanville. The NFL stands not for long, especially for coaches if you don't win. And, they made a decision, and it's early in the season, but they've made a decision. And I heard the quote from the owner that it needed to be done. It was inevitable that it was going to happen. So let's go ahead and get it done now.
Yeah.
I think on a couple different levels, I think it helps Coach Rule. If Coach Rule wants to go back and coach in college ball, now he's available. It allows him to have an opportunity to, get in on some of the jobs, because there's 4 or 5 really good jobs in the college ranks that are available right now. Yep. And then on the other side, it's a business decision too by the ownership of the Panthers. They owe him, I forget, how much did you say? It was a lot of change.
North of $40 million.
Yeah, north of $40 million. So that's a lot of change. That's not chump change. No. And I'm sure that the Panthers are hoping that Coach Rule goes back and coaches in college, because there'll be an offset and they'll get some relief from that. So it's a business decision, and most of those are business decisions that are made when coaches are let go. It's usually not a personal thing. It's it's strictly something that the owner feels like needs to be done to make the football team better. And who knows? It might give them a spark, and it might not. That's just something that they've got to see. But it's inevitable in the NFL. Believe me, there's going to be a couple more. Maybe during the season, and on average, there's 7 to 10 changes at the head coach position every year, and that's just when you get in the business, you understand that, and you don't take it personal, because if you take it personal, you're going to be miserable.
Yeah. You're on the PR Man and the Coach talking ball on the BallFather podcast presented by Sportskeeda. Coach, at the beginning of the season, there was a lot of stuff written about the NFC East. And the one thing that I kept hearing was, the NFC East is going to be the laughing stock of the NFL. What's going to happen with the Eagles. The Giants have a brand new coach. They came off a 4-13 season last year. Coach Joe Judge got fired. But what a difference a year makes. I mean, already this year, well before Halloween, the Giants have won 4 games. The Eagles paced the division. They're 5-0 leading the division. The Cowboys, without Dak Prescott, are 4-1, and the backup quarterback Cooper Rush is 4-0 as a starter this season, and the Giants are 4-1. So, the Giants, if you saw them this past Sunday in London against the Packers, they overcame a 17-3 deficit. has touchdown drives of 91 yards and 60 yards in the final 10 minutes of the game to come back and win. So, Coach, you know a little something about rebuilds. Are you surprised at the early season success that the Giants have based on Coach Daboll and the staff he's put together down there in Buffalo?
Not really, Reggie. In the NFL, things change very, very quickly. From 1 to 32, there's about that much difference.
Wow.
And you can be down here at number 32 one year and be up at number 1 or number 2, one of the top teams in the league the next year. It's just a fine line between winning and losing in the National Football League. And, Coach Daboll has done a wonderful job getting those players to believe in his way of doing things. And they've done a fantastic job to open the season. They really have. Daniel Jones is playing well. This game last week in London, he was banged up, but he was able to, to get it done when he had to get it done. And by the way, he was doing it not only on a bad wheel, but he didn't have any of his receivers. It was very impressive to win, to take the punches that Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers threw in that first quarter and first half. It didn't look like it was going to go real well. Yeah. And they fought back and beat a really good Green Bay football team. Yeah, really good team.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, they've done a great job, and then, Philadelphia, Jalen Hurts is, he's playing well. He's not your traditional NFL quarterback. He's doing it with his legs. I saw somebody talking about he's already scored more than he did all last year, or the first NFL quarterback to score with his legs in a long time in the first, 4 or 5 games of the season. Who would have thought we'd be in week 5 and we'd be talking about the NFC East as the top division in the National Football League? We wouldn't. Nobody had been saying that. You could have put a bet on that, early on, and there's no way that the only undefeated team would be the Philadelphia Eagles, and that there would be three really strong teams in the NFC East.
It's amazing. It really is. It's unbelievable, because early in the season nobody would say that. But I tell you what, like you said, things change quickly. Things change quickly in the NFL, and that's why the ratings are so high, and why people watch the games, and everybody keeps watching. People keep tuning in to check out the games. Speaking of good quarterbacks, everybody used to talk trash about Jimmy G, especially when, Jimmy Garoppolo when he went to the 49ers, and then the 49ers they draft a young guy from wherever it was, Trey Lance. They draft him from, it was South Dakota State, wherever it was, and they anoint him to be the guy, but he gets hurt. And they were trying to trade Jimmy G all off season. He, like I said, the one thing I like about him, he did 3 things when it was all going bad. They were talking about him. He put his head down. He kept working, and more importantly, kept his mouth shut. And now, he's setting himself up for a huge payday when he becomes an unrestricted free agent at the end of the season. He played well in their 37-15 win over the weekend. Coach, like you always used to tell us, and you told everybody in the media during your media sessions, the NFL is a quarterback-driven league. Are you a Jimmy G guy? Have you always been a Jimmy G guy? What are your thoughts on him and how well he's playing for the 49ers?
Well, it's great to see a guy that's, had some success, and then, became a guy that they didn't want. It was very obvious that they didn't want him. But they couldn't, because of circumstances, they couldn't get him traded. And now he's come back and he's leading the team. And, he's been brought up the right way in the National Football League in terms of the people that he's been around, in New England and in that organization, and then come to the 49ers. And sometimes, we always think that there's as coaches, we always think there's that prettier girl, right? Like in the bar, the prettier girl, but sometimes you don't realize what you got, until there's some adversity, and there's been some adversity with the injury to to Lance and there in San Francisco, and he stepped right back in, and he had a tough off season. I mean, a real tough off season. All the noise about they don't want him, they're trying to trade him. He was injured. He wasn't working out with the team. He was off to the side. He was an outcast almost.
Sure,
and he's handled it extremely well. And it's great to see him having success again with the 49ers, and they're playing really good football. And if the 49ers decide that they're going to go in a different direction, there's going to be a lot of people in the league that are going to be talking about him as one of the top free agents available, because he is a winner. And he's done it in the league. I mean, he's got it on his resume. It's not you're betting on the come. He's got it on his resume now. So it'll be interesting to see. And who knows? He may play so well that he's going to be re-signed by the 49ers, and he's going to go on and break Montana and Steve Young's records.
You know what, Mike? You're right. That's a good point. I mean, they're playing really, really well. They've got the stuff that you and I talk about, the travels. They're playing really, really good on defense. They can run the football, and they can take the ball away on defense. And he's playing good. Who knows? I mean, the Rams are not playing as well. The Cardinals aren't playing real well. They may win that division. And if they get into the turn, who knows what could happen?
Yeah, and Reggie, it's funny. We were talking about the NFC East and how it's not going like everybody thought. The West is, it's just the opposite.
Correct.
Everybody thought, there would potentially be, a three-team battle, and there's definitely going to be two in the playoffs coming out of the West. It was the strongest division on the national side, the NFC, but it's the complete opposite. On the opposite coast, they're balling, and they're not doing it. They're not doing it out there on the West Coast right now.
Correct. Well, listen, that's all we got this week. On the BallFather podcast presented by Sportskeeda. We'll be back next week to recap week 6 and discuss the NBA preseason and update you guys on all the MLB baseball divisional playoffs that are going on. Coach, I'll follow that baseball. Me and my Yankees are playing this. I'm kind of fired up. I'm trying to get everything done today so I can check my Yankees out tonight. But we'll let you go hit your golf ball. Give Coach Johnson my best, and we'll be back with you next week on volume 4 of our podcast, Coach.
Looking forward to talking some ball with you again next week. It's always a pleasure, Reggie.
All right, guys. Stay well, stay safe, and go Yankees. Take care, Coach.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye.